Three former head coaches now on Sean Payton's staff. That's pretty significant. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv. Ricky, I'll defer to you as a former player. You played for teams that had assistant coaches, that had head coaching experience before. Is that a good thing, or can it be a detrimental thing in that guys are used to being Chiefs and now they're Indians, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it can hurt a team. I mean, because really, players don't really get to know the head coach as much as they do position coach. So now these guys got to go back down and be position coach. That's a whole new ball game. And then, you know, they haven't really mingled with guys that much. You know what I mean? They was more mingling with their coaches instead of the players. So it makes a big difference. I just look at some of the guys that Coach hired, and they really haven't been, you know, play calling and into the grind. So now they got to work their way back and trying to get into the grind of being a linebacker coach all over again. So when they step down and all the way back down to a position coach, that means they got to go back to work.
Yeah, we've seen Jim Haslett do that after he left New Orleans quite a bit.
I mean, you go down like that because when you're up, you think you know it all, and then you find out that, you know, what you thought you know you didn't know. So they drop you all the way back down, and now that's your last stop coming back down. So that's what happened to a lot of coaches.
Well, Sean Payton is busy filling his staff. He's not quite finished yet, but he's made some significant hires. Let's take a look at his most recent additions to his staff. Mike Nolan coming in as linebackers coach. Of course, he was the 49ers head coach for 4 seasons. And of course, he's the son of former New Orleans Saints head coach Dick Nolan, a really nice man who I started in the business with. And in the case of Mike Nolan, he becomes the third father-son combination with the Saints in franchise history. Bum Phillips, Wade Phillips, Jim Mora, and of course, J.L. Mora. And then you're looking at Brad Banta, a Louisiana native from the Baton Rouge area, former Redskins assistant, and brings significant experience in coming back home to Louisiana. Finally, a familiar face. The Saints have not confirmed it yet, but I have, having exchanged texts with CJ. Curtis Johnson is coming back to the New Orleans Saints as wide receivers coach. And of course, we all know he was the Saints assistant here previously as wide receivers coach, and then served as head coach of the Tulane Green Wave. Okay, Brian, your take on these new additions?
Well, I think they're excellent additions. I've not had the pleasure of meeting Coach Banta before, but I know CJ and Mike a little bit, and I think they're excellent additions, and additions that need changes that need to be made. So and you know, to Ricky's point, Kenny, I think in some cases too, Mike Nolan has been a well-traveled defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen is pretty much a new head coach, right? So, and Campbell too is a new guy from a head coaching standpoint. I think sometimes, Ricky, that it can invigorate these guys as coaches going back to doing positions. And I bet that's the case with Mike Nolan. I know he's happy to be back here in New Orleans coaching because this is a potentially a very good franchise.
Well, I mean, any guy want a job. I mean,
I'm not talking about job. I'm talking about just being in the right situation.
I'd
you know
be glad to be back having a job. And I mean, that's the whole thing because, you know, a lot of times this be your last stop, you know. I mean, so guys be glad to have a job. But what the Saints need is players. You can have all the coaches you want to have. You don't have the players to go to the Super Bowl. So you need players. You can go get, you can bring Belichick here. That ain't what the Saints need. The Saints got a great coach. They need some players, and that's what they got to work on. They got to work on somebody in the front office to bring the right players here to win.
Coaches want to surround themselves with familiar people they're comfortable with. We've seen that with Sean Payton as he's brought back not 1, not 2, but 3 guys that formerly coached under him. Joe Lombardi brought back, Dennis Allen brought back, and now Curtis Johnson brought back. Brian, I think that's significant. You always want guys around you that you not only know their work habits, but you know them personally, and you feel like they have your back.
Right, and I'll bring up Greg Williams as a perfect example of that. I don't know how much Sean and Greg intermingled during their days in the NFL, and we all know how that ended, okay? I think Sean has gone back to what has worked for him, and as Kenny said, you get people that you're familiar with and comfortable with, and it's done everywhere in every step of sports and management. You feel comfortable with certain people you can trust, and that's what Sean's doing right now.
As you watch the Super Bowl, Ricky, and I wrote a piece at sportsNOLA.com about what matters, we'll encourage you to read, and what the Saints really need compared to the Patriots and Falcons that we just saw in the Super Bowl. What stands out to you, Ricky, about what the Saints lacked that you saw from these two teams in the Super Bowl? What 1 or 2 areas do you think that the Patriots and Falcons have that the Saints don't have?
Well, the Falcons have a lot of young speed on defense, and the Saints don't have that. The Falcons have guys that can run and move. They got a little tired in the third and fourth quarter, but they was playing Tom Brady. But and what New England has some guys up front on offense and defense that can take it to you, and they showed you that yesterday. Those guys up front for New England offense, they can take it to you, and the guys on defense can take it to you. And they got a good crew of receivers, running backs, and it just makes a big difference for your team.
Brian, same question, your take.
My take, I agree totally with the overall team speed of Atlanta is very impressive, and it's something that the Saints should strongly consider as they go to build up their team. The other part is the pass pressure, the consistent pressure that they put up front. Now, you can make an argument that Richard Smith and Dan Quinn didn't mix up their pass pressures enough. You rush 4 people all the time for 93 plays. They're going to be gassed, as Dan Quinn said.
Right.
You need to mix that up, and that's one of their downfalls, I think, in the second half.
Well, they didn't play zone the right way. I mean, sometimes what they needed to do is let New England catch the ball 3-4 yards and make the tackle. That wasn't bad. What they was doing, letting them catch the ball 4-5 yards and make another 10, 12, 20 yards after the run. So that's where they tried to stay man-to-man too much instead of mixing up with some zone.
But Ricky, when you have really a 4-man pass rush all game long, and you're on the field for as long as they were, you stunt and you play games, you tire yourself out, and that's what exactly happened in the fourth quarter. I consider it rope-a-dopa, okay? Foreman playing up against, or Ali playing up against ropes, and then Foreman, wearing himself down. And I think that's what the Atlanta-New England game kind of played out to be.
Yeah, it played out to be that because Atlanta was more like Foreman was.
Yeah, exactly.
They were just pretty dumb for thinking that they're gonna knock him out early when they didn't understand that there's a war.
It's 60 minutes, right? It's
war.
60 minutes.
There's
yeah.
a war.
I mean, you guys bring up great points. I mean, I think everything you said is 100% accurate. Team speed overall, especially on defense, the Saints don't have what we saw in that game. Genuine, bona fide pass rushers, the Saints don't have that like we saw in that game, because oftentimes the Falcons and Patriots got pressure with standard 4-man rushes because they have guys individually that can win battles and do that. The Saints don't, other than Cameron Jordan from their perspective. Third down backs, we saw that with James White and how good he was. And of course, we've seen it all year long with the Falcons version of their third down back, who is also very good. So Travaris Cadet came on in the second half of the season, but is he that? I don't think he's that, and I don't think the Saints have had that since Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles. So I think that's another place that you can look for. And then last but not least, the kicking game. Look at the starting field position for these two teams in this game. Pinned back all evening long because of outstanding kicking games. And oh, by the way, Julian Edelman with a 26-yard return, and that's something we don't see from the Saints at all in their punt return game. Don't even get me started on their kickoff return game. Kick coverage, kick returns, kicks themselves. Those were championship elements you saw in that game. That's another thing the Saints need to do on a more consistent basis from my perspective. When we return in just a moment, we're going to have our hot seat segment, but first, it's our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. It's a good one, real simple. How many Louisiana natives have been named Super Bowl MVP? Our guys are thinking about it. The possibility existed yesterday with the likes of Robert Alford and Deion Jones. Didn't happen, but how many were there? Think about it. When we return, we'll give you the answer, and of course, we'll talk about NFL rules and Super Bowls as it pertains to overtime as sportsNOLAtv continues.